The female CEO looked at the single dad standing alone near the edge of the ballroom and said, "Dance with me before you regret it." The entire room fell silent. Hundreds of eyes turned toward the man holding a small paper gift bag in one hand and a worn-out jacket draped over the other. He looked completely out of place among the city's wealthiest business leaders, celebrities, and executives. No one understood why one of the most successful women in the country was inviting him onto the dance floor. And least of all, he did. Before we begin, if you believe kindness can change a life and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone special, and subscribe to Love and Destiny for more emotional stories that touch the heart. Ethan Mercer lowered his eyes, wishing he could disappear. For the past 5 years, life had been an endless uphill climb. His wife had passed away unexpectedly after a sudden illness, leaving him alone to raise their young daughter, Sophie. Overnight, he had become both mother and father. Every morning started before sunrise. He prepared breakfast, got Sophie ready for school, worked long shifts as a maintenance technician, picked her up afterward, cooked dinner, helped with homework, and somehow found the strength to smile through it all. Most nights, after Sophie fell asleep, Ethan sat quietly in the kitchen staring at old photographs, wondering how much longer he could keep carrying the weight alone. Money was always tight. Dreams were postponed. And loneliness became a permanent companion. Yet Sophie never knew how difficult things truly were. Ethan made sure of that. To her, he was a superhero. Everything changed when Sophie's school announced a charity gala for children from struggling families. The event was sponsored by Aria Sinclair, the famous CEO of a global technology company known not only for her success but also for her generosity. Sophie had been selected to attend because of her excellent grades. When she excitedly begged her father to come, Ethan couldn't say no. He borrowed a suit from a friend. It didn't fit perfectly. The sleeves were too short and the shoulders too wide. But Sophie told him he looked handsome, and that was enough. The grand ballroom sparkled under crystal chandeliers. Elegant guests moved through the crowd while musicians played soft melodies. Ethan felt invisible among people whose watches cost more than his annual salary. He planned to stay quietly in the background. Then something unexpected happened. Across the room, Aria Sinclair noticed him. While others chased conversations with influential investors and politicians, her attention remained fixed on the tired-looking father helping his daughter arrange her dress before taking photos. There was something different about him. Something genuine. Throughout the evening, Aria found herself watching Ethan from afar. She noticed how he always made sure Sophie ate before he touched his own plate. She noticed how he listened carefully whenever his daughter spoke, as though nothing else in the world mattered. It reminded her of someone. Her own father. Years ago, before becoming a billionaire CEO, Aria had grown up in a small apartment. Her father had worked multiple jobs to support the family. He sacrificed everything so she could chase opportunities he never had. He died before seeing her become successful. And suddenly, watching Ethan felt like looking into a forgotten part of her past. Later that evening, the music changed. A slow melody filled the room. That was when Aria walked directly toward him. Conversations stopped. People stared. And then came the words nobody expected. "Dance with me before you regret it." Ethan nearly laughed from disbelief. He assumed she was joking. But her eyes were serious. The room waited. Slowly, nervously, Ethan accepted. As they stepped onto the dance floor, whispers spread across the ballroom. Why him? Who was he? What secret connection existed between them? But neither of them seemed to hear the noise. For the first time in years, Ethan wasn't thinking about overdue bills or exhausting work schedules. He wasn't worrying about tomorrow. He was simply present. And for the first time in a very long time, someone was seeing him. Not as a worker. Not as a struggling father. Not as a man barely surviving. But as a person who mattered. The dance lasted only a few minutes. Yet something profound happened during those moments. Aria learned about Sophie. About Ethan's late wife. about the challenges he faced every day. And Ethan learned that despite her wealth and fame, Arya carried loneliness of her own. Success had filled her bank accounts but left many empty spaces in her heart. When the music ended, the ballroom erupted into applause. Not because the dance was extraordinary, but because everyone could feel there was something real happening before their eyes. Over the following months, Arya's foundation became involved with Sophie's school programs. She and Ethan crossed paths several times through community projects. Their friendship developed slowly. Naturally. Without expectations. Arya admired Ethan's resilience. Ethan admired Arya's compassion. Neither was trying to impress the other. Both had already experienced enough disappointment to value authenticity more than appearances. As seasons passed, Sophie grew especially close to Arya. The little girl who once felt embarrassed that she didn't have the same opportunities as other children suddenly found someone who encouraged her dreams. Arya never tried to replace Sophie's mother. She simply became another person who cared. And sometimes, that can mean everything. One bright spring afternoon, nearly a year after their first dance, Ethan stood in a city park watching Sophie run through the grass while laughing. The sunlight illuminated her smile. A smile that looked exactly like her mother's. For years, Ethan had believed life was only about surviving. Getting through one day at a time. Protecting his daughter from hardship. But standing there beside Arya, he realized something important. Survival wasn't the same as living. Somewhere along the way, he had forgotten that happiness was still possible. That healing was still possible. That love could return when least expected. Arya gently took his hand. This time there was no ballroom. No audience. No wealthy guests. Only a peaceful afternoon under a clear daytime sky. And somehow, that moment felt even more meaningful than the dance that started everything. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that hope can appear when we least expect it. Special request, comment below with the word hope if you believe one act of kindness can change someone's life forever. Years later, Ethan would often think back to that evening in the ballroom. Not because a powerful CEO had asked him to dance, but because she had seen something in him that he had stopped seeing in himself. Worth. Value. Possibility. Sometimes life doesn't change because of a grand miracle. Sometimes it changes because one person notices another person standing alone and decides to walk over. And sometimes, a single dance becomes the first step toward an entirely new future. Because the greatest opportunities in life often arrive disguised as simple moments. And if we're brave enough to accept them, they can lead us exactly where we're meant to be. That night, Arya told Ethan to dance before he regretted it. What neither of them knew was that the real regret would have been walking away. And that one unexpected dance would become the beginning of the happiest chapter of their lives.